I forgot to unmute. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritam Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This Zoom allows you to pretend you're in different parts of the world. Huh? Jagdishanji looks like sitting in Maldives. And Divyansh is sitting in San Francisco, is it? Very nice. Puramekadashadvaram
द्वारम्
Ajasya Avakrachetasah
अजस्य अवक्रचेतसः
Anusthaya na shochati
अनुष्ठाय न शोचति
Muktasya vimuchyate
विमुक्तस्य
विमुक्तस्य
विमुच्यते
विमुच्यते
Etadvaitat.
एतद्वैतत्
Do Anvaya Ekadashadvaram Puram Avakrachetasah Ajasya Atmanaha Bhavati. This belongs to that Avakra Ajasya Atma. Tam Atmanam Anusthaya na shochati. Vimuktaha san vimuchyate cha etadvaitat. This Sharira is compared to a walled city which has a king who does nothing, who is not directly associated with the city itself. Whatever happens in the city is not directly by him or for him. It really, but whatever is created, whatever happens is for the benefit of this king, who is Asangaha, who doesn't do any work, nor does he actually cause anything to be done, but simply in his presence things get done. In the same way, the Sharira is like a city with all the trappings of a walled city. Various gateways, sentinels, all the other functionaries within the city, all of them busily working for the benefit of the Antaratma, which is asamhataha, not connected directly with it. But nothing is done in the Sharira for any part of the Sharira because no part of the Sharira is even sentient for that matter. Every part of the Sharira, sentiency is borrowed from that Atma. That Atma, when one does Anushtanam too, that means one does Dhyanam on, when one reaches out to that Atma, accepts that Atma as the Raja, such a person na shochati. This relates to also what Arjuna went through, the problem of not knowing what to do in certain circumstances. If he had understood Atma by the time the second chapter rolled around, then Bhagavan would not have had to tell him, Ashochyanan, Anosyan, Anvashochastvam. There's no need for you to be in a state of grief. Such a person, na shochati, and he is vimukta purushaha. This is a very big difference between any other religion, usually faith, and Vedanta. That mukti happens here and now in this janma. He's a mukta purusha. It creates a lot of questions and confusion, because then you immediately start wondering what happens to the sharira, all the rest of that we've been discussing. So for any religion which says, don't worry, whatever gains you're going to make, you're going to make after the body falls. This is the only one who doesn't say so, which is now. Also when the body falls, so the person is called a Jivan Mukta when the clarity is reached now, and then the rest of the prarabdha runs out. That person is called a Videha Mukta. So, Vimukshate, Vimuktaha san, he is freed right now here in this Janma, and later when the body falls, Vimukshate, therefore there is no further action required for anything. The gist of the shloka, of the mantra. We saw this Bashyam, and we left it the sentence where, what does it say? Swatmana asamhataha Rajasthaniyasya Swami artham, Swamyartham. For the benefit of the Raja who occupies this Rajasthan, the sthanam of the Raja, who is himself asamhataha, who has nothing to do directly with the Sharira, like he has nothing directly to do with that. Things will increase, decrease, etc. will happen in the Pura, but it has nothing to do with him directly. So, such a Swami, Swatmana asamhataha san Rajasthaniya Swami artham bhavitum arhati. By itself, the Raja is unattached, not an integral part of the city, an independent owner if you want. And the entire city is meant to serve him. Like that, this whole Sharira complex, the Karyakarana Sanghata, the body-mind sense complex, which is an assemblage. Whatever is done for the benefit of that one Raja. So Shankaracharya continues from there. For whose benefit? Who is the person for whom everything is done? For whom does the Pura operate? He uses the word Kasya. For whom? Kasya.
Basya.
Ajasya.
Ajasya.
Janmadi Vikriya Rahitasya.
Janmadi Vikriya Rahitasya.
Atmanaha.
Atmanaha.
Rajasthaniyasya.
Rajasthaniyasya.
Puradharma Vilakshranasya.
Dharma Vilakshanasya.
So many adjectives used for that one Swami of the Sharira, one whose presence make all actions possible. one whose presence makes all the dvandva possible, sukha, dukha, highs and lows, everything is possible in whose presence, who is a sakshi for all that, who doesn't directly participate in any of them, nor does he command, do like this or don't do like this, because whatever you do, whether right or wrong, whatever the outcome, whether it is good or not good, whatever the process that you follow, this Atma, which is asamhataha, supports it. It supports the falsehood within the Sharira. It supports truth within the Sharira. It supports jnanam within the Sharira. It supports ajnanam within the Sharira. It supports ananda in the Sharira. It also supports anananda in the Sharira. Therefore, there is no distinction. It just does for everything. What kind of Swami is this, for whose benefit everything is being done? Tasya. So he said, Ajasya. This Swami is unborn. Therefore, unborn means it is not restricted by time in any way. And that is only possible when time itself is a result of this, is existing because of the presence of this Atma. Therefore, Ajaha, therefore Amrita also. This Trikalatita Atma. And Janmadi Vikriya Rahitasya. Again, all Shashti, all qualifications for that Atma. All in the Shashti. Janmadi Vikriya Rahitasya. No changes, no modifications of any kind. And he says Janma Adi. Janma Adi, we know the Shad Vikara, that everything, every living thing goes through in this universe, in the Jagat. Everything also goes through the changes. But this specifically, Shad Vikara talks about all living beings. Jayate, Asti, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, and Vinashyate. All 6, it goes through the stages of changes. None of this apply to the Atma. Nor is it like any other insentient thing, like a rock. How a rock is formed, the rocks are formed in many different ways. There are metamorphic rocks, there are igneous rocks, all formed in different ways and get destroyed in different ways. Some of them last centuries, but they all undergo change. All these igneous rocks are formed, for example, when the volcano spews things slowly, if all the lava comes and they start after some time solidifying and they become rocks. Then there are metamorphic rocks. There are rocks which are layered rocks, built layer by layer and so on. All these are also changes that take place in that. Mountains change, rivers change, everything changes. No vikara for this Atma. Therefore, Ajaha and Janmadi Vikriya Rahita Atma. Atmanaha, that is the key word. Atmanaha.
Atmanaha.
Of that Atma. We already read this. Rajasthaniyasya, which occupies the space of the Raja, of the position of the Raja, equivalent of the Raja in the Pura. Sometimes one is tempted to say that, no, but then in a Pura, Raja also does not. You have to take the Drishtanta for a Drishtanta. It is only meant to signify and understand that although this whole thing looks like a working, living model, none of this will work without the Atma being present. Only to that extent. That Atma is unattached because everything is only the Atma. Atma is none of them. That's the equation. So, that Atma, or of that Atma, which occupies the position of the Raja, Rajasthaniya. Rajasthaniyasya, which has nothing to do with directly what happens in the city. Things improve, things go down. In fact, one Tikakara, the next word he uses, Pura upachaya apachayabhyam rahitam. The increase and decrease within the various elements of the Pura, and like that, various elements within the Sharira also. Some elements increase, some elements decrease. Weight tends to increase, never decrease. Physical change. Some other things decrease. Eyesight and hearing start decreasing, never increases after that. Whether it increase or decrease, Atma has directly nothing to do with it. But that increase and decrease take place because the Sakshi Atma. Without the Sakshi Atma, nothing can exist. Therefore, it says, Rajasthaniyasya Puradharma Vilakshanasya, who is not in any way linked to the Puradharma. Whatever is happening in the Pura is sustained by Atma, is sustained by the king, but directly not involved. Puradharma Vilakshanasya. This Atma is, he said, avikraha, vikriya rahita. And Bhashyakara explains the word a little bit. What does it say? Avakra chetasaha,
Avakrachetasaha,
avakram akutilam,
avakram akutilam,
aditya prakashavat,
Adishya Prakashavat
Prakashavat,
nityameva,
Nityameva
avasthitam,
Avasthitam,
Avasthitam
ekarupam cheto vijnanam,
Ekarupam
Cheto
Cheto
Vijnanam,
Vijnanam
asya iti avakra chetaha.
Asya iti Avakra Chetaha
Avakra chetasaha means
Avakra
Chetasaha,
Chetas
is non-changing consciousness. Change can happen only there are some properties, some characteristics, but there are none here. Therefore, this is no modification at all. Avakram is akutilam. Avakram akutilam chetaha vijnanam asya iti avakra chetaha. For whom there are no kutila. Kutila literally means bend.
crookedness.
Sorry?
Crookedness.
Yeah. Akutilam chetaha. How can you have it? There's no akara for it. Therefore, there's no question of kutilam. Actually, avikram is very clear. Avakram is very clear. There's no vakra. Vakra is also distortion. Avakram means the same thing. Avakutilam chetaha yasya, vijnanam yasya. This consciousness is without bend, they cannot be bent. It is akhanda. It is nirvikara. Therefore, there can't be any possibility of a kutila also. Therefore, avakra chetasa explains as avakram Akutilam Aditya Prakashavat Nityameva Avasthitam Eka Rupam Cheto Vijnanam Asya Iti. This Eka Rupa Cheta Vijnanam, single consciousness, sometimes it's called mass of consciousness, because even that is very, could be interpreted wrongly, but single akhanda consciousness. This, and it is nityam, nityameva avasthitam, unchanging, not impacted by time in any way. Such a consciousness, and he compares it to Aditya Prakashavat. Aditya is Surya Bhagavan. Surya Bhagavan Prakasham, again, please remember this is only a Drishtanta, and all Drishtantas have to be within the Jagat. That's only way we will understand them. This Aditya Prakasha is constant, unchanging. No, Swamiji, sometimes it's cloudy. Cloud only covers it. Aditya itself doesn't change. It remains the same. But what happens? It is still the same. It is just your earth is rotating and looks like it is shining somewhere else. But Aditya Prakasha never changes. So Aditya Prakashavat, like sunlight, it is Nityameva Avasthitam, Eka Rupam Cheto Vijnanam, the single akhanda consciousness. Such a thing is called Iti Avakrachetaha. This is what Avakrachetaha means. Of that Avakracheta, Tasya Avakrachetasaha Rajasthaniyasya Brahmanaha. Brought in Brahmana, of Brahman, all services, all that is being done is for the sake of this Atma, which is Brahman. Now, why is bringing this here interesting? Because the way this Drishtanta is given, it looks as though there are many Atmas. Every Sharira is like a Pura. And every Pura has a Swami. If every Pura has a Swami and the Swami is being equated to Atma, then like small kingdoms with a king, you know what happens. They start fighting. So that gives you a very difficult image to master. That's why the Drishtanta should be looked at very carefully. But this could be an impression. This will be dealt with in the next mantra. Because Shastra recognizes that one might interpret it like this. Therefore, there are many Atmas. But we know that there are, each Sharira does have what looks like an Atma. And why does it look like an Atma? Because there is only one Atma, one Brahman, one Advitiya Brahman, but each Sharira, which has a Sukshma Sharira, appears to show the image because it is capable of showing the image. So the Surya example, it makes sense. Like the reflecting surfaces of a Surya, all variations you see in the different apparent variations you see in the Atmas as Jivatma does not belong to that. It belongs only to the medium, the Upadhi. Therefore, all of the differences which seem to be there are not really differences. This is the message. We look behind them, there's only one Atma. And therefore, all these examples given in Chandogya Upanishad, so many products made of iron, so many products made of gold, so many products made of clay, and I think some 8 or 9 examples are there in that. All of them look different. Each one looks like different, has a different name, different shape, different purpose. But in reality, within that universe, there's either only iron or only gold or only clay. That is the Satyam. Within that universe. And if you take the total universe, Jagat, there's only one Satyam. In the same way, there's only one Satyam. Eka Rupam Cheto Vijnanam, that single, indivisible consciousness. It's called Avakra Chetaha. Tasya Avakra Chetasaha. Of that, Tasya Avakra Chetasaha is again Shashti. Of that Avakra Cheta. Avakra Chetasaha.
Okay.
Rajasthani Yasya
Rajasthaniyasya
Brahmanaha.
Brahmanaha.
That the one who occupies the position of the Raja of that one, and that is Brahmanaha, of that Brahman. No separate Jivatmas. There's only one Brahman, and looks like there are many Jivatmas. That Brahman, when one recognizes, and one reaches out to that Brahman, one does prayer to that Brahman, one does repeated meditation on that Brahman, and recognizes the oneness of all the so apparently different Jivatmas as being only one Brahman. Such a person, what will happen to him? He will gain Samyak Darshanam. We saw it in the Gita in extensive form in the 6th chapter. That Samyak Darshanam, he will recognize because he is able to see that through a process of Nididhyasanam. After having completed all the preparation with Karma Yoga, Upasana, Saguna Brahma, Dhyanam, all that having completed, one is done a lot of Shravanam and Mananam, one is ready to do Nididhyasanam, and in the Nididhyasanam process, one recognizes this Samyak Darshanam. That oneness one recognizes, then that person has neither any grief nor any bhaya. 2 things he will come up with. No grief. There is nothing to grieve about. And no bhaya. There is no cause for fear. These 2 factors we repeatedly see in the Upanishads. The person who understands this does not shochati. Abhaya pratishtham vindati. And goes on and on. Why Abhaya? What is there to be afraid of? Where is the cause for fear? There is no hetu. So neither fear nor this thing happen because you have understood that Brahman as the Ekameva Advitiya Brahman, Tat Aham. I is that Brahman. Logical, supported by Shastra. So, Bhashikara says, Yasya idam puram
Yasya
tam parameshwaram
Tam
Tam
Parameshwaram
Parameshwaram
Puraswaminam
Puraswaminam
Anushtaya
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 Jatva.
Dyatva
Yatva
The sentence is not complete yet, but we'll stop and carry on next. Yasya idam puram. Whose this pura? To whom this pura belongs? Yasya idam puram. Who does it belong to? That is what he said. Brahmanaha. That's Sakshi Chaitanyam. That's Sakshi Chaitanyam. Brahmanaha is also called Parameshwaram. Paramaha cha Ishvaraha cha. Parameshwaram. That Parameshwara, who is the Puraswami, Tam Parameshwaram Puraswaminam. Purasya Swaminam. Anushtaya. Anushtaya means repeated meditation upon. Anudinam meditation upon. On that Parameshwara. Anushtaya, he says Dhyatva. Sentence is not complete. Yasya idam puram tam Parameshwaram Dhyatva. What happens? Before he completes the sentence, he adds an explanation. Typically, if you write in English, you could probably put it in brackets. Jhanam hi. Ready? Jhanam hi.
Jnanam hi
Tasya
Jnanam
anushtanam.
Tasya
Tasya
Anushtanam
Anushtanam
Samyak vijnana purvakam.
Samyak
Samyak
Samyam
Vijnana
Vijnana
Purvakam
Purvakam
Jhanam here means tasya anushtanam. Jhanam hi tasya anushtanam. Actually, he said anushta earlier and then explained it as dhyanam. And now the same dhyanam is saying anushtanam. Anushtanam, regular meditation upon. Swamiji broke it down, said, you do meditation upon what you, do you do it on something you know or something you don't know? If it is something you don't know, how can you do meditation upon it? You can't. But if you know already, what is the purpose of meditation? To know. So if you already know, then why do you want to do Anushthanam? Why do you want to do meditation? Therefore here, this only means this much, that we know it is there. Samanya Jnanam is there. Therefore we can do meditation, dhanam upon it. But we really don't know the real nature. That is where our difficulty is. I can do dhyanam on Parameshwara in a form that I assign to the Parameshwara as my Ishta Devata. And that Nididhyasanam I do not, that at that stage we are still doing Saguna Brahma Dhyanam. I can give my Ishta Devata a form because it's available to me. There are many Dhyana shlokas available for me to do this. Not only Dhyana shlokas, there are many stories available on each form of Ishvara, for each Ishta Devata, which is why we have so many Ishta Devatas, so many Devatas. We also have Kula Devata, Grama Devata, all those are available to us. And for each of them, there is a history, there is a biography, everything is there. So it becomes easier for me to do meditation upon that Ishvara in the form that I find comfortable. So I use my knowledge of the fact that I've learned from the Shastra, because I've done Shravanam, that there is only one Ekameva Advitya Brahman in the form of Ishvara. I can reach out to that. And even that in the form of Ishvara, I can give my own form to the Ishvara, so I can relate to it so much more easily. So that dhyanam, initially I do on either Ishtadevata, or I can do it also on, you see people do dhyanam on a flame, for example, as one representing light and jnanam. Sometimes people do on a written form, Om, although Om is really a pratika, is a sound form, not a written form. But people do use that. Then you graduate to doing Nididhyasanam after adequate Shravanam to take in the words of the Shastra, which have been explained by the teacher. So you start looking at words like Tattvamasi, which we have heard during Shravanam, and look at that very carefully. What is Tat? What is Tvam? What is Asi? And try and understand what Shastra is trying to say. It is, we know, difficult because in the process, I have to give up the very idea of an individual. And that is not easy. People say you have to surrender your ego. You cannot surrender your ego. I will ask, who is to surrender the ego? Therefore, it is only a matter of understanding what Swamiji calls enlightened ego. That is the process one goes through. And for that, all these are steps. The adhikaritvam, shamadamadi shatka sampatihi, viveka vairagya ityadi, karma yoga, upasana yoga, all the japa, and saguna brahma dhyanam. All of that are necessary steps, which then leads one to a situation where there is atma samyamya. Atma meaning manas. Atma in this sixth chapter refers to manas. Atma samyamya. Therefore, sixth chapter is called Atma samyamya yoga or dhyana yoga, which makes that possible and get the result of that possible. That nididhyasanam requires all these preparations. So the mind is ready to be able to do dhyanam on words. Brahma satyam, jagan mithya, understand mithya satyam, but jivo brahmaiva na paraha. You take that one sentence and let that contemplation continue till that nididhyasanam leads one to the successful outcome of Atmajnana. And there are enough factors to prevent that happening. Obstacles on the way. Those obstacles we overcome through all the preparatory steps. And constant prayer, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Any kind of obstacle to my gaining this Atmajnanam, whether it's Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, or Adi Daivika, hey Bhagavan, help reduce them. Help shantam them. So that dhyanam tasya anushtanam samyak vijnana purvakam tam
Tam
Sarvaishana Vinirmuktaha.
Sarveshana
Sarveshana
Vinirmuktaha.
Vinirmukta.
Sarva Eshana is Sarvaishana. Sarvaishana and Vinirmuktaha.
Sarveshana
Sarveshana
Vinirmuktaha.
I think we should read together. Sarvaishana Vinirmuktaha San.
San
Sarveshana Vinirmuktaha San.
Samam Sarvabhutastha Dhyatva.
Sam
Samam
Sarvabhutastha
Sarvabhutastha Dhyatva
Na Shochati.
Na
Na
Sochati.
Shochati.
Tam, that Parmeshwara on which one has to meditate. By who should do the meditation? Sarva Eshana Vinirmuktaha. One who has been able to take charge of all Eshanas. What is Eshana? Eshana is desire. Shastra divides this Eshana into three parts, three broad categories. All kinds of desires are converted into that. Putraishana, Lokaishana, and Vittaishana. All security related, Vitta, wealth related, Vittaishana. Putraishana, all form of progeny, all form of kama fulfillment, Putraishana, and Lokaishana. The need, the desire to get to lokas, any loka, Swargaloka, Ityadi. All these Aishanas, recognizing the relative valuelessness of each of these, because these Aishanas lead to certain type of Laukika Sukha. All of them can lead to Laukika Sukha with various doshas. So the dosha darshanam is what will help one to free oneself from these Aishanas. But freeing oneself is not forcing it. It is not forcing the giving up of these. There is no giving up. Aishana Vinirmuktaha is by freeing yourself from them. Make yourself mukta from the Aishanas. The trishna for these things. Such a person, because he's got the vairagya, that vairagya is born out of viveka, and between them, they also help one gain all the sat sampatti. That person, a Aishana, Sarvaishana Vinirmukta, such a person, being such a person, Vinirmukta San, Samam Sarvabhutastham Dhyatva Na Shochati. Again, we refer back to the 6th chapter of the Gita. It is all there and explained in great detail. What is the Samadarshanam? On the face of it, all beings are different. Each being is unique. Even among Manushya, everything is with so many different characteristics. Broadly, man, woman, these days they also have a third category. And then Indian, American, Saudi Arabian, whatever, Brahmana, Kshatriya, whatever. And then there are all these minute variations, apparent variations. In and through all of them, the one who recognizes, who sees the samam, who sees that all of them are apparent variations, non-self-existing variations, anitya variations. When one recognizes them, he is able to see the whole Jagat as one because he understands Atma is one. I told you, it is the way one looks at it. A bullion trader, again, I'll go back to that fellow, sees all the gold ornaments, sees all the differences, sees all the fine workmanship and crass workmanship. But in and through all of them, he sees only gold. That ability to see through all of them, what looks so different, to see that samam. So, Eshana vinirmukta san samam sarvabhutastam dhyatva, that samam, which is the which is what you see in every bhuta. In and through every bhuta, you see that undivided, indivisible Atma, and doing anushtanam on that Atma, na shochati. He is not subject to grief anymore. Remember our Narada Muni, highly erudite person, knew all the Vedas, all the Upavedas, Vedangas, everything he knew. But he went to Sanat Kumara and said, I still am subject to grief. Those will not help. What will help? Only that Mahavakya understanding, the Aikyam understanding, is the only thing that will help. So even somebody like Narada had to go through this process of learning. Once he goes through that, there is no grief. Arjuna is going through this in our Bhagavad Gita. Everywhere you can see Bhagavad Gita beautifully brought all these things out. Starting with Arjuna Vishada Yoga, chapter 1, how the transformation takes place. Because of understanding only na shochati. Atmavit na shochati. One who understands the nature of the Atma, nature of I, has no cause for grief. Like that, similarly, no bhaya. How can there be bhaya? Bhaya is itself a manufactured mithya jagat item. Coming because one sees nanatvam. If you don't see nanatvam, or if in and through that nanatvam you can see that aikyam, where's bhaya? So he says, tad vigyanat.
Tat Vijnanat
Abhaya praptehe.
Abhaya
Praptehe
Shoka avasara abhavat.
Shoka Avasara
Avasara
Abhavat
Abhavat
Kuto bhava bhaveksha.
Kuto Bhaveksha
Shoka avasara abhavat.
Abhavat
Not being any opportunity for shoka. For whom? The one who is understood. Tad vigyanat, the one who is understood, who is all that was defined earlier, who does anushtanam on the Swami, who is sarveshana vimuktaha, tad vigyan abhaya praptehe. He is gained this knowledge which makes bhaya non-existent. Abhaya praptehe shoka avasara abhavat kutaha bhaya. Where do you see bhaya? Bhaya comes because I don't see the aikyam. I see myself separate from other things. The moment I do that, I have minimized myself in terms of everything. Therefore, it is like you confront somebody who is 6 feet 8, 180 kilos. There is bhaya, physical bhaya. But there isn't any bhaya. When you see that there is no second, no bhaya. That person, because he's been able to do Nididhyasanam on this Swami, Puraswami, Iha eva
Iha eva
avidyakrita kama karma bandhanaihi
avidyakrita kama karma bandhanaihi
vimuktah bhavati
vimukta
विमुक्तः भवति
vimuktascha san vimuchyate
vimuktascha san
विमुक्तश्च सन्
vimuchyate
विमुच्यते
punah shariram na grannati
पुनः
पुनः
शरीरं
शरीरं
न
न गृह्णाति
गृह्णाति
ityarthah.
इत्यर्थः
इत्यर्थः.
Very clear. Iha eva, right here and now in this janma, such a person is freed from bandhanam, any being tied down. What kind of bandhana? Avidya krita kama karma bandhanaihi. By that bandhana which is born out of avidya, avidya which leads us to do kama, leads us to kama, petty desires, the trishna which drives us to do things which are for small gains, and therefore karma. And that karma then binds us, because karma must produce karma phala. Karma phala must be exhausted, and to exhaust the karma phala you need sharira. That sharira means another janma. Janma means whole process all over again. All starts with avidya. That mistaken notion here right now, avidya krita kama karma bandhanaihi vimukta, freed of all the bandhana. Vimukto bhavati. What does that mean? If you're freed of all bandhana, you're free. There's nothing to hold you, nothing to bind you. Therefore, this anushtanam of the Swami, recognition of the Swami as the only one, leads one to abhaya, leads one to a state where there is no shuchi, no grief, and is freed. And being freed means what? Being free is being mukta. You are a mukta purusha. He is called a mukta purusha. And because he is freed right here in this janma with the same sharira, he is called jivan mukta. Jivan mukta san. When the sharira falls, deha falls, he is videha mukta. What does that imply? What does this mukti imply? Punaha shariram na grannati. He does not take another sharira. There's no need. By understanding this, all your karmas have been burnt. In fact, here we are saying that there is Jivan Mukti, at which stage we say that Sanchita and Agami karma are burnt. Prarabdha karma continues. But the other place where Acharya will argue, there is no prarabdha karma also. But in any case, all karma is burnt. And any karma that this person still does, person in the form of the Jivatma in that Sharira, does not belong to him because he has no kartrutvam. And because he has no kartrutvam, there is no karma, there is no past karma, all stored past karma are gone because there is no kartrutvam. And because there is no kartrutvam, there is no karma phala, and therefore there is no need for a sharira. Punaha shariram na grannati. He never takes another sharira. All this leaves one with a little possible doubt. That means that there are individual atmas in each sharira. And I only have to recognize that atma and I will be freed. Very interesting question. How does Shastra address that? We will look at it in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti
Shanti,
Shanti
Shanti.
Hari
धन्यवादाः
Om
नमस्काराः
धन्यवाद
पुनः
गुरुदेव
मिलामः
Om.
हरि ओम्
धन्यवाद
Thank you.
धन्यवादाः
धन्यवाद गुरु
नमस्काराः पुनः मिलामः
धन्यवाद